Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Dan Leroy, the Director of Writing and Publishing here at Lincoln Park Performing Arts Charter School, and it's my pleasure to be our moderator for this afternoon's roundtable regarding Romeo and Juliet. Okay, so let's start with a big picture question. As a writer, as a teacher of writing, everyone can guess what my view of the importance of Shakespeare is, but playing devil's advocate, there's a lot of complaints about Shakespeare. The language is difficult. The situations can be archaic. Why do we need to do this?
I think it's important to do Shakespeare, specifically this play, because, of the age of the characters in it. We as people and our emotions don't change, but, the language changes, and the language evolves, and people evolve, and, our needs and desires are the same, but, just the aesthetics of those things change as we go through.
Shakespeare is also so beautiful, like the language itself is very beautiful, and it's not really that it's hard or it's difficult, but it's challenging and it's different. But once you're there, it's so easy to read and it's so beautiful.
The Shakespearean language, as Cecilia was saying, is just such a beautiful thing because it's just got such great noise to it. It's got these great consonants and these great vowels. And even if you don't understand it 100%, the things that the actors do, because they know, and the way that they try to influence it subtextually to kind of let you know what those words mean. And just, he was setting up not just a visual imagery for us, but he was setting up kind of like a soundscape, to make us feel a certain thing or coax those emotions out of the actors and the audience.
All of you guys, including Mr. Schaller, have played adults before. But a couple of you are actually playing roles that are pretty close to, your actual ages. So I have to ask, what difference that makes when you actually get to play a role that kind of lines up with the age that you are now.
I think it's definitely, it's more appropriate when Romeo and Juliet is done whenever the characters playing those Romeo and Juliet are of the age, because it brings a certain youthfulness that I think some other productions can't get.
The whole point that they haven't experienced much of the world, unlike older people playing the roles. Like, we also have not experienced a lot of things, and so that really, I think it really helps us to really just bear down and get into it, I guess.
Speaking of teenagers and being able to relate to this role, can you compare the state of relationships in Romeo and Juliet versus the state of teenage relationships now?
Yeah, I think it's different in Romeo and Juliet because they can't connect with each other unless they see each other. Romeo has to go to Juliet's balcony to see her. He can't text her or it's just.
Yeah, and also Juliet sends the nurse to go talk to Romeo because Juliet can't be seen with Romeo, when in life I could just text Romeo right now.
Yeah.
We're taking that a step further, and we're in this okay boomer moment right now. But what about the idea of this not just being about the problems of teenage love, but teenage rebellion?
I think there's something to be said about how all of this could have been avoided if the adults maybe had just listened to Romeo and Juliet, or maybe not diminished feelings the way that older people sometimes do diminish love of younger people. There is a rebellion between the older generation and the younger generation in this show, and in our production there's a little bit shown in the costumes. The older generation is more proper to the time period in Elizabethan, while the younger generation is looser and more modern. Mercutio, I saw the other day, was wearing a leather jacket, and I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly, it helps the audience connect to the characters in a way that maybe they couldn't if they were just all dressed up and,
And more importantly, connect to the younger characters.
I find a lot of humor in the first scene that I have with Romeo about, I chide him for the girlfriend that he has now, like your mom would do or your dad would do. But I think the Friar's able to kind of, be Switzerland in the sense where it's like I can be an observer and I can give advice, from a father and from a motherly point of view as well for them. But, I'm bemused at what they do, but yet he is their one advocate for letting this happen. They love one another. I can see it. I can see the change in him. I can see she shows up, and I can see in her devotion, you know, to him.
There is something beautiful, though, about the fact that he knows that it is young love, but he doesn't discredit the fact that it is love. And he does agree to marry them, even though he knows that Romeo just loved another woman just a couple days ago, but he still acknowledges the fact that they do truly feel this way. It just goes along with the whole universal love theme.
I think that it's important for teens who have probably never seen Romeo and Juliet to come see it. Most of the stuff and the scenarios in the show can happen in real life right now. And if you take the time to like actually like sit there and listen to the story and watch what's happening and like actually think about it, I feel like it's easier to relate almost, you know. And the music as well, it's not like traditional Elizabethan, it's that folky kind of rock music-ish that everyone listens to now, so I feel like that's going to be easier for viewers to watch.
And also a production like this is reminiscent of Shakespeare and other companies of the past where, the actors have known each other for a long time, and the friendships are actual friendships. You know, these kids have grown up together, and I've grown up with them. It's difficult even to read through the farewell. This is goodbye for potentially forever, because I don't know how long I'm going to be around. I don't know if, you know, we're good. You know, he promises, you know, to welcome you back and stuff, and it's just a lot easier because I know these kids so well. Once we put this thing, you know, once we start putting this thing on its feet, just, you know, it's going to be wonderful, very wonderful.
Romeo and Juliet, a one-of-a-kind production of a Shakespearean classic, right here at Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in the Black Box next month. Come get your tickets. They're going fast. For all of the cast, I'm Dan Leroy, your moderator this afternoon. Thanks. Good day.